Hi, welcome back to the Ryan Speltz Marketing Podcast. And I'm excited to do another episode here. It's a little tricky when you get really busy and life takes over and it's hard to get everything done. So I haven't shot an episode in a little bit, in about a month, but I wanted to get on. There's been some things on my mind and there's been some things that have happened. And so I'm excited to dive in today. The title of today's podcast is You're Doing Everything Right, so why isn't it working? And I hear this a lot from especially small business owners who have really tight marketing budgets. They're really worried about being able to generate leads, to pay for their marketing. Obviously, marketing can be very expensive. And so we're going to talk through what you need to make sure you're doing to ensure that your marketing is right or that it is going to work. Another thing that happened is today I got confronted by another marketer. And if you've followed me for any amount of time, you've seen that I talk about Launchscape websites. They're websites designed to help you make more sales. And he's like, that's just marketing mumbo jumbo. And it's not real. You can't make a site that sells better. And I just have to say, for one, that's crazy talk from another marketing is about influence. It is about creating less resistance for someone to do business with you, and it is about making someone comfortable and trust and all of those different factors. And if your website isn't set up right, the truth is it won't work right. It won't sell. People will bounce rate is a real factor. It's a factor in SEO. Google looks at that because they're like, if somebody's not finding what they're looking for on your website and they bounce immediately, or they don't feel like they can do business with you easily and they bounce easily, Google's going to rank you lower. And so it 100% matters how you set up your website. Of course, there's a technical aspect that's getting it correct so Google likes the way it looks, but there's really the user experience, how it helps someone go down the path to doing business with you. The first thing that should happen is they land on your page and say, I'm in the right place. They can help me. If you go to my website, ryanspeltz.marketing, at the very top it says marketing, and then underneath it says websites, SEO, and leads, because that's what we do. And so if you're looking for someone who builds websites, we're one of those companies. If you're looking for someone to help you with your SEO, again, we're one of those companies. Lead generation, same thing. So if you're someone who has a plumbing company, let's say, or you have an electrical company, it should very quickly state who you are and what you do. But you've got to realize, like, there are multiple different types of plumbing companies. So there's plumbing supply companies, there's commercial installation plumbing companies, there's commercial service plumbing companies. There's plumbing companies that handle fire systems, sprinklers in the ceiling. There's plumbing companies that do residential repair, commercial repair. There's probably 30 or 40 different variations on plumbing companies. And so if you search for plumber near me and you need a toilet fixed, or you're looking at installing a new shower and want to have it repiped, or you're looking to repipe an old home, and you land on a website and it looks like a commercial plumbing company, or it just doesn't look right, or you just don't feel like, oh, that's who I want to work with, you're going to bounce. So you can't tell me that what a website, how it's set up and what it says don't matter. I feel like it's one of the most important pieces. I think that's true across the board in all of your marketing. And today I'm going to kind of deep dive into what are the common mistakes I see in marketing that people make, because I feel like it'll help you. I feel like it'll help small business owners be able to think through their process better and set up their website, their marketing pieces, their funnels, their capture sites, so that it is smooth and so that you communicate properly. Okay, so here's the 6 errors that I see most often with marketing plans, often done by other marketers, sometimes done by the business owner themselves. These are what I see. Number 1, messaging. Sometimes it looks really pretty, but the messaging's unclear. Have you ever watched a commercial and thought, oh, that was really funny or hilarious, and then later retold the story, but then couldn't recall what the brand was, who was the company that did it, what was the point of the commercial? when a commercial is done well, they are very clear on who they are, and so you can remember them, or the creative or the funny tie into the company. It could be nuanced, but nuanced in a way that actually generates more business. And so it also could be disjointed. A lot of times I'll see ads and I'll click on the ad. Let's say I see a cool pair of shoes and I'm like, oh, those are neat. I click on that ad. I expect to land on the page that talks about those shoes. If I just land on the company's website and I got to do some searching around to try and find it, I usually leave, right? That's a disjointed ad copy. Or the ad says one thing and the landing page says another. I just had that the other day. It said 40% off and I clicked on it and it was 20% off. And I was like, is this the same thing? Like, did I miss it? Like, what happened? Why is it disjointed like that? And so, and then another big mistake is business owners, especially if you have special industry specific language. If you're a commercial contractor and what you want to do is work with other general contractors, then using that kind of language is great. Using language that says, we know how to do this type of work in a specific language is great. The problem is I see a lot of people do that and they're working with end consumer who doesn't really understand that language. They're looking for someone to help them with a problem. They're going to use simple language to talk about it. And so you want to speak in that simple language when you're advertising it. And so don't use jargon or industry specific language. Make it clear what you do unless it's necessary. Now, if you're going for a government contract and they require certain specifications and qualifications and certain things in place, then of course that's what you want to use. It just needs to match the audience that you're targeting so that there's a low level of friction for them to be able to realize, okay, I'm in the right place. And if you serve both, I work with quite a few companies that serve both. They serve commercial contractors and they also serve homeowners. Well, in that case, maybe have two landing pages, two places where people can navigate to know if you can handle their type of work that they're looking for, right? So messaging is number one. So step number one, make sure your messaging matches the audience. Make sure it not only looks good, it should look professional, but sometimes ugly ads perform better than pretty ones. They just need to be clear what it is you're offering. Don't let the creative get in the way of the message. Make sure the message is clear or that the nuance is curious enough or funny enough, but it also ties to what you're doing that it makes, it makes people want to research further, dig deeper, find out more, whatever that looks like. Okay, number two. No clear path to doing business with you. I think nowadays there's so many different ways to contact companies. I have seen a real trend in people not wanting to make a phone call. Now, if somebody's toilet's flooding, they will call a plumber, or if they have an emergency or somewhat urgent situation, they're going to call, right? They want to get a hold of you right away because they need to get in the schedule. In that case, your speed to lead is super important. How quickly are you going to answer that phone? And then the second most important is that you do communicate well with people on the phone. You answer, you're pleasant, you say, how can I help you? You communicate clearly how you do business or what's important to you. Reducing friction, again, makes it so it's easy to do business with you. I have people that I call sometimes and, you call and they're like, yes, what can I do for you? They're like so gruff and I'm like, do you want to do business with me? Are you annoyed? And so I think making that part really good, frictionless is really important. But there's also people, especially if it's not an emergency situation, I very rarely have someone call me out of the blue. Most of the time they fill out a form on my website or chat with me through the chat bot on my website. They send me a messenger through Facebook or Instagram. Most of the time, my initial contact with a client is through a messaging platform. And my guess is it's the same for a lot of you too. So make that easy. Make it clear how you want to do business with people. Make it clear how people can interact with you. Give them options. Let them message you. Let them fill out a form. Let them call you. Whatever it is they want to do, create that opportunity for them, and then develop a system within your business so that you can follow up quickly, answer quickly. There's a big difference between answering within 30 seconds and answering within 5 minutes. A huge difference. Within 5 minutes, somebody's whole train of thought can change. They may have found someone else in that 5 minutes that actually responded, or they might have moved on to something else in their life that's important and got distracted. So my first recommendation is have a system and a plan where you can follow up quickly. There are AI tools that can do it. I think they're impersonal. So I think it's better if you can actually interact, if you can have a way to answer the phone. There are better tools coming out every day, so maybe you find an AI agent that can do that. We've looked at a few within our business to help clients who are very busy. And so make sure your call to action is easy, it's smooth, and they know how to do business with you, right? I think one of the sections on the website is that we always put in Launchscape websites is how to do business with us, how it works section, which is saying, first thing you do this, second thing you do that, third thing you do that. Book an appointment, get a free quote, choose your plan. Something like that. Explain how they can do business with you, and it'll have a significant impact on their responsiveness and a potential like a website visitor becoming a lead and then potentially a customer. The clearer and more detailed your answers or your explanations of how things work, the more likely they are going to be to want to do business with you. Okay, number 3, this one is tricky. Number 3 is not enough eyeballs seeing the ads that you're making. I see it a lot where businesses are like, man, I'm spending $500 a month on Google and I'm just not getting a response. So here's the thing. It really matters what industry you're in, what the focus is of your industry, if you're going to be able to get a response. If you simply put out $500 a month on Google and you're a plumber, you're just not going to be seen enough for the volume of search and the amount of money that others are spending in competition with you. You're going to have to spend more if you're in a highly competitive marketplace, or just don't advertise on Google, for example. Sometimes it's better to spend the money somewhere else where there's a lower barrier to entry. You can get more leads quicker for less money. Really, it's about figuring out where your audience is hanging out and then advertising there. But a plumber on Google, my guess is most markets are going to start at $3,500 a month in ad spend. And if you're a brand new or small operation, that might feel like a lot. And so you really want to approach different advertising sources so that you can get response without having to spend that kind of revenue on one marketing channel. Now, if you've got that in your budget, you should definitely make that a part of your budget. Just talked to a potential client about a week and a half ago, and they're spending $7,000 a month on Google. They're a plumber. They want to expand that spend, and they want to expand where their channels, where they're putting their ads and getting and reaching people. So Facebook's the same way. You've got to spend a certain amount for it to work. Now, if you do small spends until you find something that works, that's great. That's just testing, but you're just probably not, nobody knows you exist. I hear Alex Ramosi talk about this all the time. You just simply don't spend enough time telling people you exist, creating content, creating posts, boosting, whatever it is that you can do to make sure people know you're staying in touch with them and you're like, hey, I exist. Not enough eyeballs are seeing what you're doing if that's the case. So the more people you can get to see your stuff, to come to your website, to call you, to fill out a form, to message you on Facebook Messenger, Instagram, the more people you can get to do that, the more opportunities you'll have to do business with those people. And so making sure more people are seeing what you do is crucial. And that also means don't waste money if you can't meet the demands of a certain ad platform. If you need to spend $3,500 and that's just not in the budget, find a different way to do it, okay? So that's number 3. Not enough eyeballs on your ads or on your marketing to get a good response. Okay, number 4. This one is similar to number 1, but it's slightly different. So it's disjointed and disconnected. Your tools should all align. Your channels should all align. This is so common. I see people, you see one thing and then you click through to go check it out and it's different. The messaging or the look and feel is different. There's no alignment between the different channels. Your Facebook page, I was teaching a course one time for a bunch of contractors down in Salt Lake, and this guy raised his hands and he's like, I want help on my business description for my business, my Google business profile. And I said, okay, great, let's pull it up. But we were doing a live workshop, and I pulled it up, And I said, what kind of business do you have? And he said, we're painters. And I said, okay, great. I pulled it up, and his whole Google business profile was talking about something different. I think it was framing, or maybe they were framers and they used to do painting. I can't remember which way it was, but either way, it was a complete disconnect. The same company, same name, and he had changed what his focus was, which is okay to do, but just make sure you go through and you update everything so that your website, your Google business profile, your social media profiles all talk about what you do. And then of course, make posts, communicate clearly what you do, connect everything together, and help people understand who you are and what you do. Make it easy for them to do business with you. If it's disjointed or disconnected, that makes it difficult. Now, sometimes the question I get on this is, well, I do excavation, but I also do underground utilities, or I do excavation and I do remodeling. And our company has two different things. Well, in that case, my honest opinion is you need two different websites. You probably need a DBA that you can operate under for both. You can have a parent company, and then you have the plumbing company, and you have the excavation company, or whatever that is. So you should have two different websites, or at least two different landing pages. Personally, I think if the businesses are that different and that separate, they should completely be separate entities, or at least a DBA under that entity, so that you can work with, you can advertise to an audience that needs excavation separately and have them land on a page and a website that speaks to exactly what they're looking for. And then on the other hand, you can have a website or a page that is directed specifically for plumbing, maintenance and repair, whatever it is that you do, but you can communicate clearly with that particular client about that message. If somebody is looking for plumbing and they click on your name because it says plumbing on your Google business profile, but then they go in and the first thing they're confronted with is excavation, they're going to bounce. They're just not going to do business with you. So pay attention to that. Okay, number 5, lack of trust is really, it's so huge in today's world. And that's why you see so much emphasis from Google on reviews. Because reviews, if you have 9 reviews and all of them are 5 stars, it's been shown, even through research and study, that customers trust that less. Do you trust that less if you see 9 reviews are all 5 stars? But if you see 36 and 35 of them are positive reviews and one's kind of an irate customer or something, that's a much better plan. If you have 500 and 50 of them are negative, like there's a balance where people are like, okay, this company, it's real. They've made mistakes, but they respond, they interact. That's really important. Well, that's part of the trust building aspect of marketing. When a marketing campaign first starts, you've always heard this where you need 7 to 10 impressions before a customer will do business with you. That number has actually grown. They're showing now that customers on average need 11 plus contacts or impressions of your company before they'll decide to do business with you. Now, here's where it doesn't necessarily apply. If someone's in a hurry and they have a plumbing issue and it's flooding their basement, or they're flooding their upstairs or something like that, right? They're going to call, probably, unless they have a friend, they're going to call the first 3 on Google Maps. That's why optimizing, doing SEO or Google Maps optimization is super important. We use Optibot to do that, and then we do SEO for our clients as well. Well, that's because that low-hanging fruit of somebody in an emergency is going to call and say, I need this service right now. They may still price shop you, but they're going to call the first 3 and then they're going to pick the one that they want. Well, trust me here, trust is so important in that decision-making process. It is common for someone in research and studies that if they look at a list of plumbers and they look through them and it's 10 different plumbers, and one of them is a name that they've heard before, they're more likely to call that number or go to that website because they trust that brand a little bit more, even if it's subconsciously. And so that's why spending time and energy and money on branding can be incredibly valuable. And so you want to make sure you focus on building trust in a community. This is where very inexpensive marketing can actually go a long way. Like you could do things like advertise at your high school, on their sports teams, put up a banner on the fence at the baseball team or at the football field, or put a banner up in the gym for the basketball team, something like that where it's high visibility. It's not going to produce leads, right? You're never going to get a call from someone that's like, I saw your banner at the baseball game and I decided to call you. But what's going to happen is when they call and they go to roofers near me and your name pops up, either consciously they're going to say, oh, I've heard of them before. They sponsor my kid's school, or they're going to say, Rands, I've heard of Rands Roofing before, and they click on it because they don't even know why. It's subconscious, right? So building trust is crucial, okay? Here's the thing. You're more than likely mostly invisible other than to your friends and close watchers, right? The people who pay attention to what you're doing because they care about you and they want you to do well. You've got to create conversations. Conversations come about by interacting with people in some way or another, whether it's through lead generation, you create a social platform, you do door-to-door sales, you do phone sales. You have to create conversations in order to make sales. Conversations are the opportunity you have to talk someone into doing business with you. If you're not having enough conversations, you don't have enough business. And like I said, more than likely, you're pretty invisible to the audience that you're trying to talk to. Even I'm invisible to my audience, right? I would love for all the businesses in my community to know who I am and what I do. The reality is there's tens of thousands of them, and they just don't realize that I'm even a resource. And so I have to continue to work hard at building my awareness, building people's understanding, and then trust that I actually know what I'm doing, so that if they do come to me, they come to me looking for expertise. They come to me looking for the things that make us special and unique, right? And that comes through trust building. So go meet your target audience where they are, talk to them, tell them what you're looking for, ask if you can help. Get them to know at least who you are, even if it's not a direct contact. When we first started our company 9 years ago, we sold advertising in a print magazine. And I went around and I literally met thousands of businesses just face to face. I'd walk in and say, hey, we're doing the community magazine. Do you guys want to be part of it? It's funny, my kids were like, you're like famous. Everybody knows you. We'd go to the grocery store and people know me. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm a salesman and I'm out making sure conversations are happening. Now our business, we work with a lot of referrals. We get a lot of, shout outs and different things. And so those opportunities come in a different format. I don't do door to door anymore. And we do work with a little bit higher level client now too. So you just have to work on building your proof, your trust factor, getting people to know who you are, what you do, and that you do a good job is really important. And some of that comes down to how you respond to reviews that you get, negative reviews, interacting with people, making sure they know. I had a dentist's office get their first negative review in like 7 or 8 years of business, and they were really frustrated and sad about it. And I said, it's not a bad thing. We just need to respond. They didn't want to do business with the customer anymore. The customer had been very problematic, not paying their bills, doing all kinds of things. And so we developed a plan so that they could, so that we could ensure that they, could respond in a way that customers coming and looking at that negative review are like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. That looks like a problem customer. Plus they have 400 other positive reviews, which is great. And people love this dentist office. So if you have situations where you get a negative review, make sure you respond to the next person, the person who's going to follow up there. Okay. The last one. So number one, here's a review of the 6. Messaging, make sure it's clear, make sure it's, make sure people understand who you are and what you do. Don't let creative get in the way of the message. Number 2, clear path of doing business. Make sure there's little friction so that they can get a hold of you in the way that they want to get a hold of you. Not enough eyeballs. Spend more money if you need to, or follow or put your money into content or into ads or channels that don't take as much money to get noticed or get seen. And we have options for that, right? We can do things in limited budgets, and we always try to focus on the lowest hanging fruit first. So figure that out. How can you get in front of people if you have a limited budget, get in front of enough eyeballs, or have a long-term plan where you're like, all right, we're going to spend money on SEO. It's going to take a while, but we're okay spending that money now so that we can get the results later and the return on investment. Make sure, and so number 4, make sure all your channels, your social media, your Google business profile, your website, answering the phone, your business cards, all those things are clear and that they all are connected and the same, that they communicate the same message. If you look at huge brands, their messaging is so clear across all their platforms. It's really, really important. So the last one, or number 5, is trust building. Make sure you build trust in your community. Be part of things. Be part of the community parade. Be part of the Chamber of Commerce. Sponsor things. Make sure your name and your image get placed places and that people talk about you. One of the trust factors that Google looks at is your name, is your company being mentioned across the internet? Like, are people talking about you? Are people saying, hey, has anybody worked with this company? Are they any good? Has anybody eaten this? Is it any good? And, I think having that as part of your, part of your mantra, part of what you do in your marketing is crucial. So the last one, number 6, is having unrealistic expectations. I love it when we launch an advertising campaign for a client and the results are instant. Like, the phone starts ringing, they get forms filled out, they get everything right away. I wish it happened every single time, but the truth is, it just doesn't. It's great when it does. We love it. However, sometimes it takes time. It takes a minute for people to pay attention, to engage. We have an HVAC customer, and they came back and they're like, it's for the advertising budget we're spending, we are losing 48 cents per lead that's come through. And we've only been working with this client for about 2 months. And I said, personally, I think that's a win, because we are trying different things to figure out what channel is going to work. And for us to be at 48 cents per lead at 2 months is fantastic, because over the next 3 to 6 months, that's only going to improve as their name builds trust and a relationship with the community, with the viewers, with the readers, with the seers, whoever it is that's seeing it, and their ability to be known and to have their brand understood, what they do, to generate the traffic on their website. 48 cents negative at month 2 is a positive thing to me. Now, if it's not in your budget to lose some money for a little bit of time, then you need to set a budget that you can invest on a consistent basis without it breaking the bank. You don't want to go bankrupt on marketing, absolutely not, but you do want to spend enough money so that you can build that trust and build that relationship. So an unrealistic expectation is really tough to work with. In fact, if we get that sense from clients, a lot of times we just won't work with them. We'll say, look, we're not the agency for you, because we're going to build a long-term brand and response for you and for your brand over time. And it takes time. And if you don't have the time to invest in it, I understand. We're probably just not the agency for you. Of course, we want to help them, but we also need that expectation to be proper. Or otherwise, marketing is a lever. It's not a miracle, right? It will give you leverage. It will help you do more of what you do. It does not fix other issues. So if you have a closing issue, for example, we might blow up your phone with a bunch of leads and you don't know how to close them, you don't know how to get the business. That's a problem. You might have a fulfillment issue where you're getting more and more leads. Now you can't fulfill on time and you're getting negative reviews. That's really tough to help as well. So anyway, those are my 6 errors that I see most often from people. And it's really interesting, because when you hear from another marketer, oh, that's not true, you don't have to have the right messaging for your website, that doesn't matter. It just couldn't be further from the truth. And here's the reality of it. While marketing won't fix your problems, understanding marketing and understanding how to communicate clearly so that people have very little resistance to do business with you is so crucial. I want to actually talk a little bit about websites, because I went to a site, I was doing some research for one of our clients, Honeydew Services, and they wanted a little bit more emergency flood repair work and flood and mold mediation. It's part of their business, and they just wanted to grow that part of their business. They started off as a handyman service, and they grew into doing bigger projects and remodeling, very common for companies like this to do that. They became a general contractor. They've even built some homes from scratch. And then they added in flood and flood cleanup and then mold remediation, and became certified in all of those things. And so now they're trying to, get a good corner on that market and develop that side of their business. So I was doing research on flood and emergency services like that, and so I Googled it. Of course, I put it into our SEO software to kind of come up with a plan and try to figure out what the market looked like. Well, I visited about 10, maybe 12 different websites of local contractors that also do emergency flood repair, cleanup, and mold remediation. Almost all of them, the hero image, the very top of their website, almost all of them showed a worker. And I say this all the time, when you build a website, that if you show your company, you have your hero identity wrong. You're putting, and I learned this in Donald Miller's book. It's called the Tell Your Story brand or something like that. And he talks about your hero is your customer. And all of them look kind of banal. They look like workers with a hat on, smiling, like with a clipboard or with tools out to get the job done. And you would think, oh, that's the messaging, that's the perfect messaging, right, for websites. Well, there's two problems with that. Number one is that messaging is the same as everyone else. So in a noisy marketplace, you do not stand out at all. There's zero energy around that imagery on a website because they all look the same. And maybe that's okay. Maybe you still get enough phone calls featuring that. But I feel like there's a better way to do it. And it's to speak to your who about their why. Talk to your hero. Show them an image that makes sense, that's intriguing. So I went to a website and one of their competitors, and I absolutely loved it. And the reason I loved it is because it was a scene and it showed a kitchen that has about, I don't know, 3 to 6 inches worth of water in it. You can't really tell how deep it is, but there's like a chair in there and it's kind of up on a certain height. And then there's 2 little boys and they're sitting on, it looks like maybe a table that's turned upside down, like a coffee table or something. And they're sitting on it like it's a raft. The little one has a spatula that he's paddling the raft with. They have like goggles on and swim gear. This is a fantastic image. Now, I don't know how much they spent to create this image, but it's so good because if your house is ever flooded and their caption said, "Take back your personal space," you could play with that and that imagery and that wording and really do some great advertising with it. And as a hero image on a website, I think it's just so powerful because it's different. For one, it talks to the person who's like, oh my gosh, my kitchen's flooding or my bathroom's flooding, and they're in a crisis. They see that, they smile, they call, they fill out the form, whatever it is. And so when doing SEO really doesn't have anything to do with the messaging per se. Obviously, Google's looking at the words you use to make sure the keywords that they're looking for are in place. But when someone lands on your website, you have to do your best work in order to convince them that they're in the right place, that they should contact you. And so I really recommend that you think about how to communicate clearly who you are, what you do in a unique and creative way like this website. And it's not just some boring message that says, yeah, we do flood cleanup. It's fun, it's creative, it's unique, and their marketer is a genius. Like, I love this picture. I don't think it's AI generated, but it totally could be. It looks very realistic, like they figured out how to shoot this scene, but it totally could be an AI image. But it was such a great message. I think it was awesome. So make sure your website is clear. You speak to your who, tell them you can actually help them. They're in the right place. Make it easy for them to get a hold of you. Use emotion, so it's not just some boring message. Make sure you're doing SEO. At a minimum, do Google Business Profile SEO. If you can combine that with website SEO, then that's extremely important. We do free SEO estimates. We also do free website analysis where we do it on video. If you want to have a video done of your website where we tell you how it looks, what we would recommend, we're happy to do that. We do that for free. You can go to Ryan Speltz Marketing and request one of those. And then when you've done that thing, or those things. Like, you've got a good website, the message is clear, it speaks to your who about their why, and people are finding it. They're coming to you through Google, your Google business profile, or your Facebook ads, or your Google ads. Then it's time to start doubling down and saying, okay, how do we expand? We're doing really well with Google Leads. Let's get more of those, spend some more money there. Until your messaging is right and your speed to lead is right and your answering the phone is right and people are interacting with you and they're happy to do business with you, I wouldn't spend a whole lot of money on lead generation. And if you don't have money, then figure out a way to create more conversations. Talk to more people. Maybe it's phone calls, maybe it's door to door like I did when I first started my first business. Maybe it's going to networking meetings at your Chamber of Commerce or in your local area or your community. In Utah, we have Connect Utah, which is a free networking group where you can go and just have lunch and meet other business owners. And I have always enjoyed going to Connect Utah. There's other paid groups too, like BNI and other groups that put together these networking groups so they can help each other with referrals. I don't know how it is going to be for you, but you need to create more conversations. Maybe it's getting on a video and creating a video of you talking about your services to generate interest in what you're doing. People are not paying as close of attention to you as you think. You're almost invisible. And I don't say that to be mean. I say that in reality. There's so much noise in the market. There's so many people advertising and marketing. In order for you to stand out, you've got to get used to repeating yourself. You've got to get used to talking and feeling uncomfortable and just putting yourself out there, making conversations happen. If you don't have enough conversations, you won't have the money. You won't ever grow. You won't ever expand. Make sure you're talking to your people. In conclusion, I want to tell another story. I have a good friend who used to actually be an employee of mine when we had the magazines, and he did an excellent job. He's a graphic designer. Has some health issues, and he's not able to work full-time anymore. And what he's doing is he has kind of a hobby that he's turning into a business. And he does these really cool, really ornate wire trees. If you've ever seen them, they're really cool. They're a work of art. He takes copper and silver wire and he twists them and he makes them look like real trees. And he mounts them. They're beautiful, great piece of art, great gift. And he's working on getting them sold on Etsy and creating that as a potential side income. And what I told him is, you got to create conversations. So get on Facebook or TikTok or something, create a video, get on YouTube, create a video talking about the process, how you learned how to do this, what you do that makes it unique and special. Tell people why this is worth their time and energy, because if you're not at least putting it out there, no one's going to know. And the random few who happen to find you by deep searching for you and finding your product or your service or what you do, that's great, but it's never going to be enough to grow and expand your business and have enough to bless your family, have enough to expand, to finally hire an employee, to finally build what you're going to build. So anyway, I hope this helps. The 6 things that I see most often in marketing plans that are falling short, or errors, or things that I worry about when I see businesses doing them. I hope you can dig in and fix those things. If you need help, please let us know. We do some free audits. We'd be happy to help. We help with websites. We help with SEO. We help with lead generation. We help with the concepts, the consulting side of it, making sure you come up with the right plan, get the right system in place so you can capture the leads, and then how to answer those leads, how to get back to them in time, and how to say the right things so that they want to do business with you, or that they're at least willing to give you a shot. Those are things that we help with, and we'd love to help you. And make sure you're just making more conversations. I hope that is something you can take from this episode, is creating conversations is really the key. And those conversations can come from marketing, that's great, but they can also come from your own efforts while you're new. So anyway, RyanSpeltz.marketing. Feel free to go check it out and see if there's anywhere, if you want if you're interested in getting a free scan, what you can do is you can go to the website page. So if you go to Ryan Speltz Marketing, you click on or hover over marketing, click on websites, you scroll down, it says request video review. We're happy to go through your video in detail, or through your website in detail and make a video about it, showing you what we would change. We do this for free. Obviously, some people are going to take that and go and do it on their own, but others are going to say, you know what, I like these guys, I trust them, and so they'll often turn into our website clients. So we're happy to do that for free. We want to have the conversation, right? We want to have the opportunity to do business with you. And so that's a lesson in and of itself that we want to help, right? We want to be the company you would trust to do business with us. And so anyway, try it out. Check it out if you're interested in getting a free video review of your website and assessment of what you could do and how you can make it better. But great talking to you again. And season 2, episode 4, that's a wrap. We'll talk to you soon.